Buffy has ever loved.
Guess who's Angel's new playmate?
One moment of true happiness,
Get ready to meet the new boss.
and he will lose his soul.
Angel?
A love so dangerous they knew it couldn't last. No! Buffy.
Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of Slade, the Buffyverse Revisited. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Jeremy J.
I'm your other host, James.
And this week, after missing last week, we will be diving into Season 3, Episode 17, Enemies.
Yes.
Yeah, we missed last week, everyone, as you all know, I'm sure. I did get 3 or 4 messages of people being like, yo, bro, the fuck? And I was like, yeah, sorry. There was about 3 or 4 different things that all kind of happened together that it just didn't work. We normally have, James and I, at least one episode in the bank, so to speak, in case something like that happens. But after our mid-season break, we never had the time to get together to record that extra episode, to have one in the bank. So yeah, that's what led us to last week, which is unfortunately our very first time we've missed a weekly episode, and it was a little upsetting. I cried a little. I did some cutting.
I was bummed, but you should tell those people that messaged you, if they were true fans, they would be following the Facebook page and they would have been notified that we weren't going to have an episode.
Yeah, I had to break my sister's balls a little bit, because I believe it was because our normal drop date is Mondays. It might have been Monday afternoon or evening, and she texted me and said, "Hey, what's going on? No episode." And I was like, well, sister, we did actually make a post on the Facebook account. And you're clearly not following it.
Wow.
And,
but we know she is because she leaves us comments.
Yeah, no, she just hadn't probably looked at it that day.
Facebook. That's a shame.
By the way, James.
That's a shame.
Yes, it is.
I'm
hurt.
Be
ashamed of herself.
I'm hurt in my heart, and we're not even related.
Yeah, I'm deeply scarred by that whole conversation. Because I immediately thought, wow, she doesn't love me.
Wow.
Because
yeah,
she is hanging on our every post, and that deeply hurts me.
I feel that. I feel like she doesn't love me either.
Right? See? So we'll just hug each other and cuddle tonight.
Will you grab my ass?
Oh, yeah. I mean, come on.
Yes.
Really, so I was going to ask you really quickly.
Yes.
Go ahead. You say what you were going to say, because
I was just gonna reiterate your apology for us missing last week. You said everything I had planned to say about it. If
my apologies.
No, that's fine. I wasn't sure if you were going to address it or not.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, we do usually have an episode in the can, so that things like that don't happen. But as Jeremy stated, we've both been so busy with other things since we came back from our mid-season hiatus. We just haven't had a chance. Me with my move and everything. But anyway, hopefully that's something we'll rectify in the next week or so that
and that's an important thing to bring up, is that you have been extremely busy because you've been making a move. I mean, everybody knows how stressful and busy and annoying that is. So that was a small part of what happened last week. As far as, like I said, there was 4 or 5 things that all came together, and it was just like we couldn't. He was available Friday, if I remember correctly. No, I was available Friday, but at a certain time, but you really weren't. And then I wasn't available Saturday, and it was just. Right. It just didn't work, and we had to cut bait and cry ourselves to sleep.
It happens. We feel bad about it, and we will
well, that'll never happen again.
Right. We will take steps to try and ensure it doesn't happen again.
We have each punished ourselves, just so everyone knows.
Yeah, I flogged myself with a cat o' nine tails, but I mean that's kind of a regular occurrence for me.
Right.
So
Anyway, I
anyway,
gave myself a couple extra whacks though.
okay. So anyway, you were gonna move on from this topic. You had something you were gonna bring up.
I did have something I was going to bring up, and I have completely forgotten what the fuck it was because I'm old and my memory is just completely useless. So we'll just pretend like none of that happened. James.
Yes.
How are you doing? It's been a couple of weeks. What's new?
It has.
You know.
That's I've mentioned this before, but for any new listeners or anyone who hasn't heard me say it, Jeremy and I we actually don't chit chat on the regular. A lot of times
here and there.
Yeah, a couple quick texts, but most of the time when we talk, it's recording this show.
Mm-hmm.
So these how are you doing conversations are actually pretty genuine and pretty real time.
Yeah.
Real talk. Little peek behind the curtain for everybody. Everything's going okay.
Good.
You'll see my surroundings.
We can all see that you are no longer in the afterlife.
Right. Which brings me, I know you didn't want me to do this.
Oh.
But I feel like the listeners
Right.
I feel like the listeners and the viewers need to know the real reason we didn't have an episode last week.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Is because Jeremy fought his way into purgatory to retrieve my soul and bring me back to the world of the living.
I did.
That's what he did for me.
I did. I mean, we have known each other for so long that I could not bear the thought of you being in limbo, purgatory, or any type of rotten afterlife. Mm-hmm. And I was like, if James, if he had been in paradise, I would have let it be. But he is in dire straits, and I must retrieve his soul. And I rolled a nat 20, so I mean, I knew I was good to go.
Appreciate you so much, man.
Oh, and also your audio problem is. Would you like to tell the listeners how stupid both of us are?
So your technical wizards of hosts here couldn't figure out that Skype had miraculously changed my microphone input from the microphone I'm currently using to the far less superior built-in microphone on my webcam. And that is why my voice was so hollow, distant, and the
weird
and the buzzing. It was feedback. Yes, and between the two of us, and mind you, like I say technical geniuses joking, but we're not geniuses. But we both have a fair amount of decent technical knowledge about technology and how it works. And neither one of us two dipshits even contemplated the idea of checking the settings. Even though
2 weeks prior,
Jeremy had experienced the same fucking issue.
And it took me 30 minutes to figure it out that time?
Yes.
And then I explained it to you what had happened. This is prior to us recording, and 2 weeks later it happens to James, and we're both like, I
don't know what's going on. What's the problem?
We were like a couple of what were those two dopey characters from Disney? Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
Tweedledum. Yeah.
It was like I don't know. I guess we both had temporary strokes or something. We couldn't. The two of us couldn't come up with. Oh, hey, you should probably check your mic input setting. It could have changed to that shitty webcam mic, and
right.
We're both just like, he's taking the headset off. We're plugging it in and plugging it out, unplugging it and plugging it back in. And it's like,
I'm shutting down Skype and restarting it,
yeah,
rebooting my computer.
Yeah, and I'm like, derp, 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 that's all I know. So
yeah. But yes, I am in a new area. I am completely moved into my new abode. This is the area you're seeing now is the second bedroom. It will be my office / guest room. This
Casa de Ames J.
Casa de Ames J. This is not the final configuration.
That's not your final form.
It's not my final form. I'm about to go Super Saiyan.
Okay.
No, this isn't the final. This isn't the final setup. I moved the last of my stuff over today after work. Kind of threw this together real quick so we could record the pod tonight. Tomorrow I will be moving everything into its proper locations. So
hey, to be honest, it looks really good right now.
I appreciate that. So yes, well, it will be in this room going forward, but the view will probably change between now and next week. But yeah, so I am completely and 100% moved out of the old homestead and into my new place. You can see behind me, right over there.
Keep going. There it is.
There it is. That's the door to the master bedroom.
Is that where the magic happens?
I would show you, but only the most problematic of problematic women get to see inside.
Inside the magic. Get
to see inside the Magic Kingdom.
Disney's Magic Kingdom ain't got shit on Casa de Ames J.
Mr. Toad's Wild Ride? I think not.
Please. It's a small world, my friend.
Hey!
What? No, I didn't mean it that way. I didn't mean it that way.
I see what you were trying to do there.
No. I would never do that.
So yeah. So I think that's everything non-show and non-pod related.
Sure.
We had to discuss. Real quick, let's give a shout out to our new friend. Where is she?
I like new friends.
Our new friend Catherine.
Yes.
She messaged us prior to last week.
Or 2 weeks ago now.
2 weeks ago now. And she said, just wanted to tell you I just found your podcast on Spotify a couple of days ago and am on episode 8 and am loving it.
Awesome.
So yeah.
I didn't even think the first season was our best work.
So that was a Facebook message we got from her. We responded there, but we'll also respond here. We'll tell you the same thing, Catherine. It's awesome, and we're both so glad that you found us, and we're extremely happy that you're enjoying the podcast. She, at last count, she was on season 2, episode 4, Inca Mummy Girl. So,
which I do recall being if I remember correctly, I do recall that being a rather funny episode.
Probably
as far as us busting on it,
Right. So hopefully it won't be too long until you are at episode 3 or season 3, episode 17, Enemies, where we are now, and you can hear your official shout out on the podcast.
I need to make a sound effect for that. Like that I can play. It says official shout out.
But yeah, we're glad you found us. We're glad you're loving the pod. That honestly means so much to both of us.
That's the whole reason we're doing this. Yeah.
Right.
So.
We've Jeremy and I have noticed in the last couple of months an uptick in subscribers to the YouTube channel and Facebook.
Mhm.
Um,
And an uptick in the analytics for the audio too. There's been
there?
an uptick,
Okay.
yeah. And I've been like, oh wow,
There,
are these bots or actual people?
there's been an uptick in the YouTube channel viewership too. So, and again, we've said this before.
Only a matter of time before we're millionaires.
It's funny you say that because that's literally what I was just going to say. Was we've said this before. We never started this with any intention of it blowing up or anything like that. But Jeremy did say to me, but after Catherine messaged us that he feels like we're finally gaining some footing.
Yeah, and I do feel that way. I mean, legitimately do feel that way.
I do too, with the uptick in YouTube viewership and YouTube subscribers and Facebook subscribers. I do too, and again, we never did, and we don't expect it to blow up and become a huge thing. But to know that we're reaching people and to have this kind of interaction with people, it it makes us feel good.
Yeah, even if it's just a small little tight knit group of us and our listeners that enjoy the show, dude, that's 100% makes it worth it, because it's just if I can make if we can make those people chuckle or get them through a shitty work shift or get them through anything, because trust me, podcasts have been a lifesaver for me many times. And I always thought, hey, and I always wanted a podcast, and I always thought, hey man, if I ever start one and I can do that for like one other person or one bazillion people, that'll be freaking awesome, because podcasts have been there for me, and that's all I had to say.
Right. And Catherine did leave us a message on our post about Inca Mummy Girl.
Mm-hmm.
She said, I laughed way too hard at this episode. I also had the gold lipstick as a teen. It was totally a thing for a hot minute in the 90s.
Yep.
It 100% was.
Oh yeah.
You weren't anybody of any reasonable fashion sense if you didn't have gold lipstick.
That, and if you didn't do the tight roll on the bottom of your jeans.
Yes.
Had to do the tight roll.
Yes. So yes, again, Catherine, thank you for listening and for commenting, and we look forward to hopefully a lot more interaction with you and other listeners.
Definitely.
So let's dive into our.
Let me pause you really quick, James.
Sure.
I did actually remember what I was going to bring up earlier.
Okay.
It popped back in my feeble brain. You had mentioned, and I want to bring it up on the show, so if there's listeners that are having this issue, we can get this discussed and resolved, hopefully. But you had mentioned, I believe two weeks ago's episode did not drop for you on Google Podcasts.
Doppelgangland. Yeah,
has it ever dropped on?
It did eventually show up.
Okay.
But I honestly couldn't tell you when it showed up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because when you told me that, I kept checking it off and on the rest of that day, and then I checked it. I believe it was the next day a couple of times, and I also, I went into our dashboard for our podcast, and absolutely nothing had changed. And so what I believe is, if that ever happens to you, to any of you listening on Google Podcasts or any of your, however you stream us, let me just give a couple of tips here. Number one, it's usually because podcasts are served through an RSS feed, and I won't get into too much, technical gobbledygook on that, but they're served through an RSS feed, and generally when that happens, it's 99.9% of the time it's the fault of the, in this instance, Google Podcasts. It's their RSS feed was not renewing. In other words, it's supposed to check at certain intervals for new content, and it was not doing that. So that's what happens. And what I would say, I myself, I use Spotify for almost everything, and I've not had that happen to me thus far on Spotify, but it can happen on it can happen to any of them. And so what I would say is, if that happens to you on your preferred listening service, you can either kind of tough it out, I guess, and try to wait. Or what I would do is just go to our YouTube channel and if if you have YouTube Premium, for instance, you don't even have to keep the screen on. You can still just put your headphones in, turn the screen off, start our video, turn the screen off, and drop the phone in your pocket, and you get the same experience.
Right.
Yes. But that's I just wanted to tell everyone that that's generally what's happening, is because if we're going to miss an episode, which hopefully never happens again, we will post it on our Facebook. So if there's been nothing on our Facebook about, hey, no episode this week, there's an episode, but there's an issue with whoever the retreat, whoever the service is you're using to listen. I have like 4 or 5 different apps, podcast serving apps on my phone for my own listening, for my own podcast that I listen to. Whenever that happens, I'll check 1 or 2 other ones and be like, yep, it's Google this time that's messing up, or Stitcher or whatever. And but yeah, anyway, it's a long-winded way of saying it's not our fault. I swear it's not our fault.
Yeah, 100%. Our preferred solution, if that happens to anybody, would be that you hop over to our YouTube channel and listen that way.
And you get to see
us. And like Jeremy said, if you happen to have YouTube Premium, you start the video, minimize it. It'll keep playing just the audio. You'll be fine. But also, if you go to BuffyRevisited.com, you can stream them right from there as well.
Yeah, exactly. You can stream it right, and that's coming right directly from because a little behind the curtain here, we use Spotify as our podcast host, so you can stream it right from there. But yeah, I'm glad you actually brought that up. I would probably slap that in a bookmark somewhere, just in case, because if you go there, that will show you the absolute up to the millisecond deal of like what's out, and if it's there, it should be on your podcasting serving device, and if it's not our fault, man.
Right. Yeah, so either of those 2 places, BuffyRevisited.com, or again, honestly, if you love us, hop over to the YouTube channel and watch it there. Help spike those views for us over there on the old YouTube. So speaking of Doppelgangland, let's talk about our good friend Darlene's thoughts and comments about that episode that she left us.
Let's do it.
First, she addresses the buzzing on my end, and she asks if I tried a different headset. I did not try a different headset because this is the only headset I have.
Well, as we all know now, we have.
But as we've learned now, I did figure out the issue. It took me a good half an hour on my lunch break from work the next day, or no, 2 days later, to figure out what it was. But I got there. And then I immediately messaged Jeremy, and I was like, "You're not gonna believe what the fucking issue was, and I can't believe us 2 dunderheads didn't even think about it."
Well, especially me, because I take such pride in trying to and thinking of myself as a pretty big audiophile and into all of this stuff, and yeah, I don't know. All I can say is I have a feeble old man brain,
and I'm literally just along for the ride.
Yeah, he doesn't. You guys don't even realize he doesn't even actually talk. I'm AIing all of this.
I'm not even a real person.
He's not even a real person. Yeah,
not even a real
I have
person.
created him because I have no friends and no life. I create.
Jeremy handles the audio portion of the podcast,
Right.
but the recording part of it, getting it uploaded to where it needs to be to go to where it needs to go. I'm the video tech.
Yep.
For lack of a better term, I handle recording the video portion of it, getting it put up on YouTube, Facebook. I do most of the Facebook stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy does pop in there occasionally to see what's going on. I think you get notifications from the Facebook page, don't you?
Oh yeah. But so what he's basically saying is I do very, very little.
He actually does, in my opinion, probably the most important part of it, the actual podcast part.
Well, I mean, but it's not like it's difficult. It's not like I'm special for doing it. It's the only annoying part about, I wouldn't even say it's annoying, but it's time consuming, is editing, which I don't. I know they're behind the curtain here, but I don't actually edit like anything we say or anything like that. When I say editing, I'm talking about I have a set of, I don't know, 6 or 8 different types of filters that I run it through, that I run the podcast through, and then I'll listen to it, not word for word, but I'll listen to it in sections and try to make sure there's no kind of audio glitches or errors that would make it unlistenable. Right. But other than that, I do very, very little.
I will say I think that is, aside from the content, people love Buffy. I think that is one of the things that, and any of our listeners, feel free to correct me, I think that's one of the things that draws people in is the fact that we don't edit. Like,
no,
you're gonna get the full 2+ hours if that's what happens.
Oh yeah, if
of what we're doing.
7.5 hours, you're gonna get a 7.5 hour
Right.
podcast.
Right.
I'm not editing that shit out. Like, if we spoke it, you're gonna hear it.
There's one time in the 3.5 seasons we've been doing this where we actually had to edit an episode.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when Jeremy forgot the name of the podcast.
I forgot the name of the fucking podcast. And I believe
and that we didn't even have to edit. We just stopped recording and started again.
Well, you, as the glorious video tech, saved that. And
I saved that. It is it is on our Facebook. And I think on the YouTube channel as well. So scroll back and find that. It's hilarious. I might just repost it this week, just for funsies.
Because it's like that at that very second when I was about to, I said, my hello and welcome to this week's, and I go, what did I say? Something about, I was just like, what's the name of the podcast again?
I believe you said, holy fuck, I forgot the name of the show.
Yeah.
Something to that effect.
Because at that point we were in the first season when that happened. We hadn't,
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. We hadn't been doing this for a super long time. And I don't know. I just blanked on the name of our own fucking show.
Yep. That's literally the only time we've ever edited the show.
And like I out laughing, I said, we should probably start that over.
Yeah. And even, I guess that really doesn't even necessarily count as an edit because we just started over.
True.
But yeah, you guys get raw dogged.
Full Monty.
You get raw dogged by our podcast. You get raw dogged.
That's a little creepy.
It is a little creepy, but they keep listening, so they must like it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
They're like us, so that's good.
Darlene also said that we're right, and it's almost impossible to withstand all the sexiness pouring from the screen.
See?
From the two of us.
See?
Of
course, she has to say that about me. I'm her brother, but
and she says she's sure that our audience appreciates our understanding of the challenge that they all face with every episode of the podcast.
right.
And we do. We do.
We understand.
She also said that the mayor feeling like such a wholesome bad guy. I'm coining that phrase. I coined that phrase.
Mm-hmm.
Is exactly what she was trying to convey by mentioning Will Ferrell.
Love Will Ferrell. God, I love him.
She also said that she's a grown woman, but she snickers every time she hears Harry Groner.
See, I do too. I can't help it. Yeah, it's funny. He probably laughs too.
She says she thinks she understands and agrees with what I was trying to explain about how the gang was almost making a joke of Faith having killed Deputy Mayor Finch because she kind of felt it too. She said it felt lighthearted and dismissive for an event so serious and significant that it was the crux of the previous 2 episodes. And then Faith just kind of bebops in like nothing ever happened. Which is pretty much all I was trying to say in my displeasure with how lighthearted and jokey that part of that episode was.
Sure.
She said you and her had the same response to Principal Snyder saying that Percy was 50% at the free throw line.
Yeah.
Like
that's
did not
stat.
Right. Like did not a single person on the cast and or crew realize that 50% is not a great stat for
yeah,
that's free throws.
That's literally the stat of somebody like at the YMCA. You know, like Bill that goes there on the weekends to stay in shape. Yeah, that's not a good stat.
She said she enjoyed the scene between Oz and Willow where they were discussing his band having played and her not knowing about it. Particularly the exchange, Willow saying that Oz thinks she's boring, and Oz's reply of "I'd call that a radical interpretation of the text," and Oz's delivery of it, and that's actually a perfect example of why I think both you and I love Oz as a character so much.
Oh yeah, I love how he. Oh yeah,
he's so
his just flat line. You know,
it's flat. It's deadpan.
His heart rate never goes above like 60.
No,
ever.
No.
Even when he's a werewolf, it's maybe 63.
She goes on to say that her take on Willow's struggle in this particular episode comes from her having also been a responsible, never get into trouble, straight A overachiever. She feels less cool and less accepted because of her being responsible and smart. She also feels hurt because everyone tends to use her for it. She's experiencing smart shaming. Yeah, 100%. I 100% get that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But give us a little inside scoop, Jeremy. Was Darlene a straight A overachiever?
Yeah. Oh yeah. She made it harder on me. Yeah, she definitely was. But I always thought she was cool. I mean, she was my sister, and she got to do cool. I don't know. I always thought she was cool.
If you don't mind my asking, and if you don't think Darlene will mind, you say, well, was you saying without giving ages, how far apart are you two? I know she's your big sister.
Well, she's 73. No, I'm only kidding. Oh, she's gonna kill me. She's really gonna fuck me up.
I said without ages, how far apart are you?
We are. I think we're just under 7 years apart.
You know, that's funny because my younger sister and I are 7 years apart.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't a never get into trouble, straight A overachiever.
Mm-hmm.
I was I hate school, but I'm here, so I'm going to do really well at it.
Mhm.
And I got good grades throughout high school.
Yeah, not me.
And that did, to a certain extent, make it harder on my younger sister.
Mhm.
Because even 7 years later, when she was going through the same high school, she had one or two teachers and a guidance counselor over her 4 years say to her, your brother didn't have these problems. Your brother was a really good student. 7 years later.
Yeah, I had the same thing. Oh, there were many teachers there uh who remembered my sister, and I would specifically try to distance myself from that because I knew they were going to expect my great things for me, and I also knew that that was not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was similar to you in that I hated school, but the difference is I was like, I hate school and I don't want to be here, so I'm not gonna do shit. So I'm gonna do like the bare
Right.
necessities to get through this thing. Is that was the kind of student I was. It was stupid, but you know how
Right.
you are. You're young. You're an idiot. So
Right.
you know.
She then says that when Buffy and Xander walk up to Willow outside the school, she thought Xander said, Willow, did you remember to take biography? She said she listened to it several times and she's still convinced that that's what he says.
Could be.
Um, she says, and I want to address this. She says a pretty big sticking point for her with this episode was trying to reconcile why Willow would not know or remember Anya's necklace being what the Wish episode was all about. Well, that's because nobody in the real world of the show knows that.
God, I'm trying to remember the episode. Oh
Because
man.
it was alternate reality Giles that figured it out and smashed it. And when
Uh,
he smashed it, everything went back to the
Prior
point,
to her saying,
went back
"Oh,
to
let's do this," yeah.
everything reverted back to our reality to the point when Cordelia made the wish in the first place.
And Cordelia was the only one who ever saw the necklace in the first loop
Right,
of our reality.
right. So
Yeah.
so Willow would have no way of knowing that. No, none of our principals would,
That's right. Only
except for Anya.
alternate reality.
Only alternate reality uh, people. So
Okay then.
um, she said she thinks we're both right in how we interpreted Willow's disruption of the spell with Anya. That was partially on purpose, but maybe partially accidental as well. Um, she said that she liked the song being performed in the bronze, um, though the singer could have definitely used a comb.
I couldn't. I have subtitles on when I'm watching, and I was reading the lyrics, and I was like, "This is stupid. It doesn't mean anything."
She also says that she loves evil vampire Willow. She said at this point, aside from Giles, she's her absolutely favorite character. She says, I agree, James, that there was the perfect amount of our Willow in evil vampire Willow, and I loved that. I do think evil vampire Willow's hair is darker red than our Willow is. Xander's jump back in line, hands in new places, when evil Willow was rubbing against him made me laugh out loud. Uh, she says that Giles's sincere offhanded response to Xander about Willow being better than him was very amusing. It was. Giles, we see it in this episode too. Now that Giles isn't actually like part of the Watchers Council, he starts to get a little like
Flippant.
flippant. Yes,
Yep.
little bit of Ripper peeking out a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, she said she loves Angel and Oz's dynamic.
I love Angel too. Wait,
It
what?
really works. I do too. um, She says Oz doesn't make it to the spinoff. I love Oz. Whose bright idea was that? Spoiler alert, he doesn't.
Spoiler alert. We'll talk about that when the time comes. Trust me.
We will.
Seth Green should have never, ever been allowed to get away from this franchise. Mistakes were fucking made. Let's put it that way.
She says, James, don't tell Jeremy, but I have also never watched The Simpsons.
Oh, I knew that about I knew that about my sister.
She also says she's one of the 4 viewers who knew exactly what we were talking about regarding Charles and Charles.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that conversation.
She said, you realize that makes us all old, right? Not just me.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I'm well aware.
She gives it a rating of 3.5 what the fuck pastry displays.
Yeah.
So thank you as always, Darlene, for your thoughts on the episode.
Absolutely.
It's
so nice to have a third female perspective on our, and I love how she breaks it down like we do.
Yeah.
And goes chunk by chunk, because it gives us another perspective.
It does give us,
and to see if we're just completely off fucking base, or and sometimes she'll be like, yeah, you're completely off fucking base, and I'm like, okay, fair enough.
Right. And like I've said before, and with Darlene's comments and anybody's comments,
all you guys are free to do the same thing.
Right. And exactly. And their opinions. It does offer us an opportunity to revisit the previous episode and kind of dive into it a little bit more.
Anything might have missed.
Right. And things we might have missed, or things we might have interpreted differently, or whatnot. I've said this before. It's definitely helped me realize that I should be viewing these episodes more as a first-time viewer, and not so much as a revisitor to the show.
So hard though. It's so hard.
It is.
You have to really focus when you're watching the episode, and it's hard, because I really tried with this week's episode, and I think I succeeded 50-50.
And then you also do have to try and combine both of those views of a first-time viewer and someone who's revisiting it, because if we don't also interject our thoughts on it, revisiting it after so long, then I think that takes away from the podcast a little bit if we don't impart that,
And this episode was especially hard because with knowing what we know about, the future and the history of faith, and it was like, okay, let me try to pretend, let me just act like I don't know anything of the future.
Right.
What would I be thinking? What was I thinking the first time I saw this?
And I've found myself doing that more often, especially, after season 1, where I was able to, because I didn't watch season 1 in real time, when it aired, as previously discussed. But starting with season 2, I did watch it in real time as it aired. So I have been trying to kind of fall back in my own mind and try and remember, how did I feel when I first watched this? Sure. What was that like? But anyway, so that's everything I have for previous episodes. So how about if now, at an hour and 16 minutes in already,
well, actually, we're at 44 minutes.
44 minutes. That's right. An hour and 16 from when we actually started recording.
Yeah.
But how about, Jeremy?
Yes.
If I saute you up in a nice white wine sauce.
Okay. You got me there.
Some tasty, delectable dates and deets.
You had me at white wine.
Beautiful. As previously stated, we will be revisiting Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 3, Episode 17, our 51st episode of the series overall.
Heyo!
Heyo! We are over 3.5 seasons into the show, and what?
It's hard to believe for me.
It is hard to. Me too.
We're literally halfway into the series.
We are halfway into the series, and we are now officially over halfway to enough episodes to hit syndication.
That's right. We're going to get paid now.
Our episode title this week is Enemies. Our episode director is David Grossman, and our credited writer this week is Douglas Petrie. Our original air date was March 16th, 1997 on the now defunct WB network. Our Nielsen rating was 4.1 million households when it first aired, ranking it 93rd out of the 130 network primetime shows for the week, and second out of the 15 shows on the WB for that week. Our regular cast, as always, includes Sarah Michelle Gellar as Buffy, Nicholas Brendan as Xander, Allison Hannigan as Willow, Charisma Carpenter as Cordelia, David Boreanaz as Angel, Seth Green as Oz, and Anthony Stewart Head as Giles. Our guest stars this week include Eliza Dushku as Faith, Harry Groner as Mayor Wilkins, Alexis Denisoff as Wesley, Christine Sutherland as Joyce, Michael Manasseri as our horned demon, Skylar, and Gary Bullock as Hooded Sorcerer.
And let me just say really quick, we always tee-hee-hee about the Harry Groner, his real name. I love that man.
I
love him as an actor.
I think we talked about it.
Phenomenal.
I think we talked about it last week, and anyone that's been listening since the first season will know that. And I think we stopped doing it in the second season. Throughout the first season, we would kind of go into detail about the movie and TV credits of our guest cast.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Harry is one of the actors that if we were doing it, if we were still doing that, we literally, all we could say is he's a hugely prolific character.
Yeah, we wouldn't have enough time. We
wouldn't have enough time to name every, like I would hit like the highlights of what you've probably seen him in. But the dude's been everywhere. He's still doing stuff. I mentioned last week I saw him in the trailer for Oppenheimer.
Yeah. He is.
Yeah.
I have, just really quick, I know we've gone long already, but I have often sat and thought, I wish they had made him and his character had been an overarching bad guy for the entire series. Like literally, like he didn't have to be the focus of every episode, obviously, or the focus of every season, but right. To be like the guy, like kind of untouchable because he's the mayor and yada yada. It would have been fantastic because he's so good and he's so likable and also so fucking easy to where you just want to punch him in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just he's phenomenal. And I was like, how cool would it have been had he been the kind of overlord? Well, you can't do anything to me because I'm the mayor guy for all 7 seasons. And then, oh man, it would have been phenomenal. Sorry, I had to get that out.
No, it would have been. I agree. I hadn't even thought of something like that till you just said it. But yeah, like, because there were subtle hints of the mayor in season 1.
Yep.
And season 2.
He was. Yep.
And then fully introduced here in season 3.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I agree. How that would have changed the trajectory of the rest of this season.
We might have escaped the season 4 that we got.
We might have.
You know. But I thought that how phenomenal would that have been, and like, you know, the Scoobies know what and who he is. He knows all about them, but they can't touch him because he's the fucking mayor. Right. And like the annoying, devious shit he could constantly do to them. And it just, I honestly think it might have changed the show for the better. I really do, because I feel like, just really quick, spoilers, I feel like season 4 was a dumpster fire. I feel like season 5 was going up, and season 6 and 7 were what they were. We'll just put it that way. And I think I really feel like they struggled from this season on, trying to find out. Well, 6 and 7 that were kind of coalesced together. But other than that, I kind of feel like they struggled with like who are we? What's our identity? And who is. I think they would have just done better with having this guy who was always the puppet master pulling the strings, you know?
Well, I think, and I'm not going to say a lot, but I think part of the struggle after this season has to do with things that happened at the end of this season.
Yeah.
Which
I think I know exactly what you're
we'll definitely address that when we start season 4 and subsequently season 1 of
Angel. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, you will be having a double podcast in one.
You will be having,
which we'll explain more in detail when it's time.
We will. Our episode synopsis this week, mine anyway, reads: Faith and the mayor conspire to rob Angel of his soul. Giles resumes his duties as watcher when Cordelia distracts Wesley.
Yeah, no, that doesn't happen. He doesn't resume it. I mean, not officially.
He's
not doing anything differently this week than he has ever since he was dismissed.
No.
So that part was. Mine is similar. It says, as Faith attempts to seduce Angel and steal his soul, the mayor summons a dark magic demon to finish the job, which is pretty accurate.
Yeah. Wait, one more time for me? I'm sorry.
It says, as Faith attempts to seduce Angel and steal his soul, the mayor summons a dark magic demon to finish the job.
Okay. Yeah. I like it. I like it a lot.
I like it a lot.
So we open the episode and Angel and Buffy are coming out of a movie. And it was clearly much more intimate and full of sexually charged energy than they were anticipating.
Apparently, yes.
The movie does not exist. It's not a real movie. If anyone's curious. I looked. It's not.
Yeah.
So do you remember the name of it? It was La Banquet de Amelia, I believe it was.
Yeah, in other words,
yeah,
Amelia is on the menu.
And this leads to a conversation between them where Buffy's she's kind of worried about Angel getting all worked up around her and them not being able to, consummate the relationship.
I got the impression that this was like an X-rated movie.
Oh yeah,
like, I'm not talking like a XXX hardcore porn flick, but like, you remember what X-rated used to be like?
It was
90s.
I would say it was avant-garde French cinema.
Ah, so X-rated, like Skinamax porn, in other words.
Avant-garde French cinema.
Okay. We'll go with that.
So yeah, Buffy's worried about Angel getting all worked up around her and them not being able to do anything about it. And
pretty gutsy of herself to assume it was her that got him all worked up and not the film.
Well, not though, because Angel then tells her that he doesn't need a movie to get him all worked up. Just being around her does that.
He's like, listen, I'm fully chubbed all the time that you're around.
He's like, whenever you're around, it's like instant.
Right. It's a rhino horn.
Right.
From beginning to end.
But he reassures her that he can control himself and everything's fine, and he kisses her to prove it.
And they immediately have like a super passionate kiss. Right. And I'm like, that probably isn't the best of ideas, but okay.
But he was trying to prove to her that he can control himself.
Right. He wasn't just trying to get some sweet Buffy tongue. He was just trying to make a point.
At that point, Faith shows up to take Buffy on patrol with her. And Angel seems a little surprised that the Watchers Council has put her back on active duty already. But they have.
Which who would be? The Watchers Council are known idiots.
Right.
So, I mean.
Right. So they're patrolling and they run into a demon. This is our demon, Skylar.
I like this guy.
He is funny.
I like this guy. I like his voice and everything.
And he wants to make an exchange with them. He says he has the Books of Ascension, and he is willing to sell them to them for $5,000.
5G's in 90s money, guys. So
5G's in 90s money.
That's pretty significant little chunk of change.
Right.
Today, 5G's is like rent on an apartment. Back then, 5G's was like a pretty nice used car.
So yeah, Faith wants to kill him. Buffy says to let him go, and he scurries off.
After he had told them to meet him, that he would meet them at, I think he was kind of obscure about where.
No, the back there where they were.
Okay, back at the same spot, and if they wanted it, and bring the money and blah blah blah. Yeah,
right, and he'd bring the books, which he says that the mayor would definitely not want them to have.
Right,
because obviously, the Books of Ascension detail the mayor's ascension.
Right,
his ultimate plan. And that is the end of our cold open.
It is.
It was actually, I thought about this when I watched it. It seemed like, obviously I've condensed it down here in notes. It seemed like a much longer cold open than we usually get. Did it seem that way to you?
Yes, it really was, because there was a lot of discourse and dialogue between Buffy and Faith and the demon. And there was also very talky between her and Angel prior to that.
Right. And then Buffy, Faith, and Angel when Faith showed up in that scene.
Yeah, they had a little bit of dialogue there too, and it was this episode's very talk heavy.
It is.
There sometimes we have one that's just like boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom. Wow, we're to the end, and then some we have that drone on. I noticed that when He Who Must Not Be Named is generally is the writer and director. For the most part, there's exceptions to this, but for the most part, I've always noticed that his episodes tend to be very to the point. They move quickly, put it that way.
Yeah.
And then other people are really dialogue heavy.
Yeah, but essentially our cold open for this episode was 2 full scenes.
Yeah, it was. It was
before
2
the credits.
regular length scenes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, but so that's our cold open. We cut to credits and we come back and we're in the mayor's office. And what's happening there, Jeremy?
There's a fire. Again.
Always the fire, man.
No,
always.
I won't even go there this time. They're in the mayor's office, and Faith is explaining to her new overlord, the mayor, about this demon that they ran into, and that, he's got the Books of Ascension, and he's trying to sell it to her and Buffy for $5,000. And now, just pause really quick here, because this is the very first thing that popped into my head during this scene, and I was like, wait a minute. Okay, this deal with the demon and the Books of Ascension, this is the overarching plot of the whole episode. Mm-hmm. It takes us through this whole deal. This could have been made so simple and so easy for the mayor. Why didn't he just say, okay, Faith, here's $5,000, because I'm the fucking mayor and I'm rich as fuck and I can get anything I want. Here's $5,000. Go meet this fucking turd tonight. Or it was supposed to be that night, wasn't it? That following night.
Yeah.
Go meet him, get these books, give him the money, come back. everything would have been quiet. There would have been no what happens later. Like
There
the
would
whole
have been no episode.
like right. It could have just been like credits, you know, like I've got the books of Ascension now, but it ends up becoming this almost a little bit convoluted cat and mouse game where he could have just simply said $5,000. That's all he wants. That's
right.
He probably has that in his sock.
Right.
And he could, you know,
especially like, so without jumping too far ahead and giving spoilers for this episode, especially with a significant piece of information we find out later in the episode, you know that man's got $5,000 sitting around.
Literally, like it was probably in his sock.
Right.
Like he's got so much, not just his own personal wealth, but he's the mayor of a city in California. $5,000 would be literally nothing to him. Look at his office. Look at the kind of things he has in his office. You're like, that's probably worth $5,000 right there. That little statue of whatever, you know, and
right.
And he could have. I've always liked antagonists or bad guys that are willing to do the simple, easy things to try to make a situation quick and easy. Like, okay, you don't have to go and gut this guy and turn this into a big thing. Go give him the fucking money, get the shit, come back here, you know, boom, I've got the books.
I did have that same thought briefly as you. I was like, why doesn't he just fork over the $5,000 to Faith and have her go get the books?
Then this demon disappears. He leaves town because that's what he's wanting. That's what he's wanting the money for, so he can get the fuck out of Dodge.
Right.
So that he's gone. Buffy will never be able to find him because he's going to leave to probably the other side of the fucking country. Problem solved, you know. But
easy peasy lemon squeezy.
We gotta have, you know, a 43-minute episode. So let's.
We need an episode.
So yeah, she the mayor basically anyway, sorry. The mayor basically tells Faith he wants her to get these books before Buffy does, by any means necessary. Which I'm like, again, why don't you just throw her $5,000 and she could get the books? But anyway, the mayor's basically like, find this fucker before tonight, wherever he's hiding, take care of him and get these fucking books and get back to me. And then go ahead.
I was going to say, and then he subtly threatens to kill her.
Yes, he does. He makes a very subtle, veiled threat that, well, if you fail me in that way, and then he goes, well, it was very hard to replace Mr. Trick, as you know, and it's very annoying. And I was like, wow, really? Like last week, you're treating her like your daughter, and now all of a sudden you're like, and if you fail me in this, I will kill you.
That's what's even like funnier, I guess, about this scene, because not just last week was he treating her like his daughter. In this very scene, he says to her, I wish you'd wear your hair pulled back more. You have such a nice face. Totally a father type thing to say.
Right. Not saying it in like a creepy molester way.
Right.
Like the way a father would say, like, oh, you're so pretty, honey. Just pull your hair back, you know.
And then he tells her that she stresses too much.
Well, he gives her a glass of milk.
Right. He says she worries too much, and it causes unnecessary levels of stress, and he knows exactly what she needs and pours her a fucking glass of milk.
Right. Which, and then, by the way, he had a glass jug on his desk of milk.
It was warm milk.
Who wants fucking room temperature milk?
Nobody wants
nobody on the whole planet, you know?
The only time I want milk warm is if it's coming straight out of the cow's teat.
Whoa. The only time I want milk warm is if it's in my oatmeal.
Yeah. True. Or hot chocolate.
Yeah. True that.
But yeah, and then he turns around and he's like, well, if you fail me, I might have to kill you.
I might just have to replace you by killing you.
Right. I was like, dude.
Now wait a minute. That's a little fucking give her a glass of milk and then threaten her life. That's it. That is why I love this guy. I'll be honest.
Right. It's the perfect example of what we said last week and what Darlene pointed out. Like he is wholesome evil.
Yeah, he's Beaver Cleaver's dad, but he's also like John Wayne Gacy. And that's it's phenomenal. I love him as an actor. No, I can't think of any other actor, and even Will Ferrell, who I love and worship, he couldn't even have pulled this off as good as Mr. Groener does. But anyway, we cut to the library at Scoo, and the Scoobs are in there and filling their buff. Oh, is Faith there at this point? No, she's not there yet.
Nope.
It's just Buffy, and she's filling everybody in about the whole the meeting with the demon and the books of Ascension and 5,000 and Giles and Wes are both kind of like books of Ascension. They're both, in other words, they're both kind of drawing a blank. They're not
right. Wesley even says that Ascension isn't really a word heard a lot in the demon world.
Right. And as we know, Wesley is very, very book smart about demonology and the whole, dark arts and dark world shit. So for him to be drawing a blank, you're like, okay. And then Willow pipes up and says that, and I didn't write it down, but in which I'm sure you're gonna pull up for me, but she
I actually forgot to write it down too.
Oh, okay. In some obscure tome, she saw a brief mention to the Ascension, and Giles says, when she says the name of that book, he goes, "Where did you find that book?" And what did she say? On top of your
on top of a shelf. Shelf.
On top of your shelf in your office where you put things that you don't want me to see.
Yeah.
And as she says that, he's looking at her, and he immediately leaves the scene and goes into his office like, "Fuck! I gotta move. I gotta get a different hiding spot." It was funny. But he does come out with that book a little bit later, and he's like, "Oh, here it is. Yeah, she's right. It does mention briefly the Ascension and about this certain individual whose name I don't recall because I didn't write down.
Kane. His
Kane,
name was something Kane.
Desmond Kane. That was it.
Yes.
Desmond Kane had written briefly in this certain little town about. He had written a blurb basically in his diary that said, "Tomorrow is the day of Ascension. God help us all." And then he disappeared. And Wesley's like, "You mean he was never heard from again?" And Giles says, "No, the whole town disappeared. It just gone." And everybody's like, "What?"
It was the Marenschat text.
Yes, there you go. That exactly. I knew that precisely. And Cordelia comes in to the library around this time, and because as we all know, she has the hots for Wes, or I never really decided if she really had the hots for Wes, as I'm thinking ahead, or if this was all just a slap in Xander's face kind of thing.
No, I think she's I think there's genuinely some attraction there.
Huh. Okay. I'll buy it. I'll buy that for $1.
How about $1.25?
And now you're stretching it. Now you're stretching it. $1.15. The best I can do.
I'll take it.
Okay. So so she comes in and of course she interrupts the whole thing, and everybody's just kind of like, "What the fuck, Cordelia?" And only thing she's there for is that she has to write an English paper, and she's like, "And you're English, so we could do it together." And everybody's like, "Oh my God." And she's like, "What's wrong with having an insider's point of view?" and then she looks at him, she says, "I do my best studying around 8 at a what'd she say, like a fine restaurant or whatever, something like that."
Yeah.
And he's all like, "Ooh, okay." And I'm still like, jailbait? What the fuck, bro? He's like 28 and she's in real life, I think they're like the same age, but her character's like, wait, is her character 18 yet? I don't know. I don't think so. Even if she is, it's gross.
So I could tell you, but it would be a spoiler for later in this season.
Right. Anyway, it's still fucking gross. And I'm like, Wes, bro, you're like 28. This girl's like 17 or 18. What the fuck? You know, this isn't fucking Iran. It's not cool. Anyway, then we cut to a really ragged looking, nasty apartment. And our demon friend is scurrying about quickly, packing up, obviously, to get the fuck out of Dodge. He's grabbing his goldfish in the goldfish tank, I guess you call it. Anyway,
fish bowl.
Fish bowl. Fish bowl.
That's a fish bowl. That's a fish bowl, boy.
That's a fish bowl, boy.
That's a fish bowl, boy.
I said that's a fish bowl, boy.
I said that's a fish bowl.
And then all of a sudden you hear you see the door fly open. Faith is there. She has kicked the door open. And he's like, yo, hey, so the apartment's looking kind of ragged. Let me get it straightened up for you. And anyway, she's kind of manhandling him a little bit. And he's like, here's the books, and I think it was 5 volumes, right? It was 5 books.
Yeah.
And he's talking about, how good a shape they're in. They're the originals. There's just a little spine damage on one, but man, they're in great shape. And he's like, 5,000, that's a steal, and you see her pull a knife out and, she's like, I hate haggling. And she just stands up and fucking plunges the knife into this poor guy's gut. And he fucking slinks to the ground, but then he grabs her and attempts, to fight with her, and they kind of fall on the ground, intertwined together, and she is just stabbing the fuck out of this poor guy until finally he's dead. And he's on top of her at this point. So, she tosses him off of her, and she raises up, and her hands and everything are all covered in blood. And she seems a little wigged out by it. And then we cut to Angel's place, the dilapidated mansion. And Faith comes in and she's like, I need your help. And I'm slipping and I don't know what I'm becoming. And, I've killed again, and shows him her hands that they're still covered in blood. And I'm like, wait, why haven't those dried up yet? Like, how blood dries. But anyway, and he's like, you need help, Faith. You're slipping. I know I've been there. That whole spiel. And she's like, but it's not human blood, but either way, the guy's dead, and blah blah blah. And so he's trying to, kind of talk her down and straighten some shit out. And she immediately, she's like, oh, I need help. I need help. And she grabs him and they're hugging. She's hugging him. And then she goes in for the old smoocheroni and trying to slip him a little bit of the old tongue action. And he's like, whoa there, you hooer. And no, he does like back up, and he's like, whoa, no, basically no way.
He's like, ho, ho, ho. The only whore in this town is Jocelyn.
Is JS, baby.
Whore Summers.
Jocelyn Whore Summers. Sumer. Yes, but he does like back off of her, and he's like, whoa. And he's like, that'll never happen. I love Buffy. And she's understanding of it, I'm sorry. I understand. And, I'm so emotional and blah, blah, blah. And he kind of forgives the whole thing. And she's like, well, I gotta go. And he's like, well, you need help, Faith, and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, well, I've kind of always been on my own. So I'll figure it out. And then she comes back up to him and gives him like a kiss on the cheek area, like, you know, like a thanks kind of thing. Well, we see outside the window is Buffy, and she has seen what has been going on. And that girl pissed. Let me tell you. She's not happy.
She's angrier than a Destiny's Child song.
That's right. And she ain't chasing no waterfalls. Oh, that's not Destiny's Child. Sorry.
That
really
was
bad reference.
Wow.
Really bad
Wow.
reference. We cut to Faith's apartment. And what's going on there, James?
There's a fire.
I knew you were gonna say that. I fucking knew you were gonna say that.
We cut back to Faith's apartment and the mayor's there, and she tells him that she tried, but Angel, rebuked her, turned her down.
Hey, really quick, do you think the mayor wears those little I don't know what they're called, they're like leg garters, that hold up your dress socks?
100%.
He definitely does.
Yes.
Okay. What are those called? Do they have a name?
I'll look it up when you take the next scene.
Okay. But he definitely, you're saying he 100%.
Oh yeah, he 100% does.
Okay. Gotcha.
I do.
Do you? Are you wearing them right now?
I'm wearing them right now.
With just regular. It would be even better if you were wearing them with regular, what do they call, like the no-show short
the ankle socks.
Socks, yeah. It'd be even better if you were wearing them with those.
I'm wearing them with ankle socks and sandals.
Right.
and shorts.
Shorts, like gym shorts, but with a belt.
Yes.
Yes.
And suspenders. And
suspenders, of course.
You can't see the suspenders under my shirt though.
And the suspenders are rainbow colored.
Of course.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah.
If we have any artists in our listening, I would pay money to see you draw James just as we have described. That would be hilarious. Just saying.
Where am I? Oh yeah. She's telling the mayor that Angel turned her down, and the mayor immediately is like, well, what the hell's wrong with him? And
which I was like, yeah, what is wrong with that fucker?
He's in love with Buffy.
I don't care. Who's turning Eliza Dushku down? Unless you have some type of, maybe you're blind, or you're homosexual, I would understand it. But if you're a heterosexual being, which is I was going to say man, but he's not a man, you got problems. There's something's going on.
He's in love with Buffy.
I don't care. I've been in love before, and we'll just leave it at that. We'll just leave it at that, my friend. Okie dokie. I'm a bad man.
So ultimately, the mayor says that they'll just have to take Angel's soul away in the most painful way possible.
Which I was like, why didn't we just go this route to start with?
Right.
No, but I mean, honestly, like, isn't that a really shitty plan? Like, hey, I know he's madly in love with Buffy. Why don't I send my emotional, fragile new Slayer sidekick to try to seduce him?
So
why not just go the route of evil demon to start with?
So my guess is that the mayor, probably from the set out, wanted to like do it via magics or whatnot, and Faith was probably the one that was like, let me try and do it the old-fashioned way.
Okay, I can buy that. All right, I hadn't thought of that.
So then we cut to the library, and Wesley and Giles are looking into the Ascension.
And they're playing tic-tac-toe for some reason.
They are playing tic-tac-toe. It's really weird.
Yeah, they kept,
like, what?
Like the whole scene, it's kind of it's a serious scene, but they just continue playing tic-tac-toe.
Yeah.
And no one can win, even though that game lasts like 20 seconds.
Right. It's really weird.
So weird.
Buffy comes in and Wesley tells her that he wants her and Faith to find the demon and get the books, and he's talking about how hard it'll be to find him when Xander comes in with the demon's address.
Yeah, he immediately says, "Hey, found your demon."
Which Xander says he beat it out of Willie the Snitch himself, and Buffy's like, "But did you?" And Xander's like, "Well, I bribed him."
Yeah, I bribed him. And it was. Did you catch the number that he had to pay? Because they asked how much it cost him.
No.
$28.
That's weird.
I was like, that's an odd. Okay. And then he's like, hey, does the Watchers Council reimburse for bribes? And Giles is like, do you have a receipt? And he's like, shit.
Yes. Which is just an example of Giles' like new flippant attitude.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Because earlier in the episode he said something else too. What did he say about he was like, don't demons have any?
Yeah. He goes because he wanted $5,000, the demon.
Right.
And he goes, $5,000. He goes, what happened to the good old days when they wanted like the still beating heart of a virgin?
Yeah.
And then when they were talking about where he was living in that in that crummy apartment, he says, see, they have no taste. Why aren't they in a nice crypt? Why wasn't he in a nice crypt? You know?
Buffy starts to go, but Faith shows up at the library and insists on going with her. And Xander says that, or Xander makes note of the tension between the two of them. And then we cut to the demon's hotel room.
Is that what it was? It was a hotel room?
I think so.
Okay. Man, it was really it was worse than Faith's hotel room.
It could have been an apartment. I wrote down hotel room. That doesn't mean that that's what it is. Could have been a car dealership for all the fuck I know. Jesus Christ.
It could have been behind a fucking sardine factory. I don't know.
Stop grilling me, Jeremy. God damn it.
Sorry, buddy. Sorry.
My new neighbors are probably like, what the fuck is he
yelling
about?
Yeah. You're used to being in a single family home. Yeah.
Buffy and Faith show up at his apartment, and did you happen to like Faith? Obviously, we know why, but Faith found that light switch just a little bit too quick.
Right. And they just walked in, remember?
Well, the door was busted open.
No, but it was closed and latched.
Was it?
Yes, they just okay. We cut to we cut into that scene, and they just walk in the door.
Huh.
And because when they left, and she's like, "Come on, are you coming?" She like reaches over and unhooks the door, pulls it open. They go out, and she pulls it and latches it shut. I'm like, it wasn't Buffy like, "Hey, wait a minute, we're just gonna walk in?" I don't know. I noticed that immediately.
Of course, they find him dead, and
wouldn't it have been funny if he was a demon? Because as this show and Angel goes on, we find out there's bazillions of different types of demons. But wouldn't it have been funny had he been one of those types of demons that like they appear to be dead for a certain amount of time, but they just kind of regenerate and come back, and then he was just sitting there in his room, and he's like, "You fucking bitch! You killed me and stole my books.
You fucking gutted me like a goddamn fish, you whore!
Yeah, and you stole my books." And then Buffy would have been like, "What?" Yeah.
Credits.
Anyway. Credits. Well, huge fight scene, then credits.
Credits.
Yeah.
Buffy says that it wasn't just a hit; it was somebody's idea of a party. And then they leave.
Yeah, they're literally
the
just like, okay, let's leave now. Like, I would have thought maybe investigate a little bit. Hey, maybe even make sure the books are definitely not there still.
Right.
No, they're just like, no, the books must be gone. We shall leave at this instant.
So then we cut to the mayor's office, and he's meeting with a mysterious man covered in a black shroud.
No. He looks like a 1980s fucking ninja. Let's be honest. I saw him, I was like, oh God.
You know what he reminded me of more than that?
What?
You remember Oded Fehr's character in the Mummy movies?
Yes, I do.
Their get up.
Yep.
That's what it reminded me of more so.
See, for me, it was immediately, oh God, 1980s ninja thing. I'm like, what is this? What are we doing? Obviously, they didn't want to. They spent a lot of money on doing the other demon guy's makeup because he had some excellent makeup.
Yeah.
So they were like, okay, this guy, we just want to have to do like the eyes and stuff. Just put a mask on
hands.
Yeah, a little bit of the hands but
yeah.
He does have a cool voice though.
He does. The mayor is asking him for his services to steal Angel's soul. And then we cut back to school, and we're with Willow and Buffy in the lounge.
The guy does say to the mayor, like, this is serious shit. Like, it's going to take very, very dark, deadly magic to steal the soul of this creature.
Mm-hmm.
And the mayor's like, that's cool. You want a mint? Literally.
Yeah. Right.
And he's sitting there popping mints, like eating mints while the guy's telling him all this. And
yeah,
he's like, "You sure you don't want one? They're low calorie."
And we come back to the school, and Willow and Buffy are chilling in the lounge area, and Willow's concerned that Buffy's upset, and Buffy confides in her that what she saw with Angel and Faith, and it seemed pretty intimate. And Willow says that Faith's totally the do that type of girl, but Angel would absolutely never. She tells Buffy that she's Angel's whole world, and
she should have been like, you literally brought him back from hell.
Right.
Like, he owes you so much.
So Willow asks Buffy what Angel said when Buffy asked him about it, and Buffy's like, you mean when I didn't have an adult conversation with him about it?
Right.
And Willow's like, well, stop being crazy and go talk to Angel right now.
Yeah.
And so Buffy leaves to go talk to Angel.
Stop acting like a teenage girl. Jeez.
Right.
I mean, gosh.
And Buffy leaves, presumably to go talk to Angel. And then we cut to the mansion. And what's happening there, Jeremy?
Well, Angel's there in a wife beater. And he's, you can't really, he gets up off the floor like he's been, I don't know, doing push-ups or something.
He was in front of the fireplace.
I know, but he's kind of like breathing a little bit. He seemed like whatever. I don't know. Seemed to me like.
I thought he was just like, he had just like thrown some more wood on the fire.
Maybe he was masturbating. Hey, I wonder if masturbating would make him lose his soul. Do you think?
Without any spoilers, based on what we see in further down the line, I would say no.
Okay.
I'll specify when we get.
When we get there?
No, when we're done recording.
Oh, okay. So anyway, yeah. So he's doing that, and Faith shows up, and he's immediately like, it's funny because he has this line. He goes, "What do you want?" And I'm like,
yes.
I'm like, wait a minute. She was just here a few scenes ago, and you were all about trying to help her and everything. And he's like, "What do you want?" And she's like, well, I thought about last night or whatever, and I wanted to tell you, how sorry I was, and I understand it, you and Buffy and everything, and blah 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 blah. And he's like, I want to trust you, and she's like, well, you shouldn't, chump. And she throws like a cup of a goblet of blood on him. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
It's not explained.
Well, I don't think it was a goblet, but it was definitely something that had blood in it.
Like some type of container. She'd like throw in it, like this blood splashes on his shirt, and he's like, the fuck? And then here comes our ninja dude. He comes into screen and he's like, humana, 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 woogie, 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 woogie. And, saying, that was word for word what he said, by the way.
Yeah, sure.
That was literally word for word.
Yeah, of course it was.
And then he's like, mecca lecca hi, mecca hiney ho. And
doody 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 doo.
doody doody doody. See, you knew what I was saying. And he had the little magic rock on his neck, and he's like, doody 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 doody. And then Bozo came out, and Bozo was like, get him, get him. No,
we literally just combined two different things. Mecha Lecca High, Mecha Hiney Ho was what?
Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Yeah, what was the character's name?
It was the head in the box.
I think just Genie, wasn't it?
I think maybe it was just Genie.
And then, Wizzo the Clown.
Yeah.
Right, Wizzo the Clown from Bozo.
Woody doody 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 with the little magic rock. No one has a clue what we're talking about.
No one.
Unless they're like from the Midwest.
Right.
Anyway, so he comes and he's chanting this Latin, I guess, stuff, demon language stuff, and this big light show starts around Angel, and encompasses him in this blue mist and magic, and he's like, hama hama ha, and then it kind of dissipates, and Angel falls to the ground, and Faith's like, yo, how you doing, Angel? And he rolls over, and he's vamp faced, and he's like, I'm feeling much better. And he pops up, and he's like kissing her and shit, and then he fucking backhands the shit out of her. And she goes to get up, and he literally like soccer kicks her in the ribs. And he's like, no, don't get up. and then they're going at it, and kind of fighting and stuff. And so in other words, it's clear that his soul is now gone, and he has returned as Angelus. She gets him down. She gets on top of him, and she's got a stake, and she's like, so, are you going to, basically ally or die here? Like, I'll introduce you to the real power in this town if you want to fucking cooperate. It's up to you. And he's like, okay, let's do this shit. And so she lets him up, and they have like the most graphic sex scene that's ever been on television.
It's funny, so because you said she lets him up, but she doesn't, because the scene ends with them still on the ground, and they're making out hot and heavy.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, do you think Angelus hit?
Oh, son. First of all, he's impregnated her with his vampire baby.
Not her.
No. Yeah, not her. Yeah. Well, actually, you know what I have to say in this instance?
Hold on a minute. It's funny you say he impregnated her with her vampire baby, because when I watched these episodes on Hulu. Okay. Mm-hmm. When I signed into Hulu to watch this episode, right above it is like the recommended movies and TV shows right above like the continue watching. And the first thing recommended, and I know it's 100% because I watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer, was fucking Twilight.
Oh.
And I was like,
those are so related.
I was like, don't even make that kind of assumption.
They're not even truly, even if you're a Twilight fan, like those are not even related properties in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
Anyway, I'm sorry for you, James. So then we cut back to the library, and
can we pause for a moment?
We may.
To discuss the shock factor of fucking Angelus being back.
Right, and how simple it was to do. Because the guy only chanted like, I don't know, 5 or 6 lines of gobbledygook, and then like, you know, blue magic mist, and poof, Angelus is back. Yeah.
I didn't see that coming.
No, nor did I.
I vividly remember watching it originally years ago and just being like completely
like, now how the fuck are they going to get it? Now how are they going to get his soul back? Like, what?
Right. And just being like, I can't deal with this again.
But I kind of love Angelus.
Yeah.
He's so fun.
He is fun.
Honestly, he's more fun than Angel. In this show.
Yeah.
You know, he's more fun. Angel's a little too broody and moody in this show for me. He really gets better, I feel like, in his own show.
Yeah.
But Angelus is so fun, and I'm like, okay, I can roll with this again. I know we just did it, but I can roll with Angelus. He's fun.
I was heartbroken. I was like, I'm not prepared to do this again.
Did you cry? Was there tears?
Not this time. Revisiting it, but I'm trying to remember back to the first time. I don't think so. I don't think it was like a crying moment.
But you were just like, oh man, I'm just emotionally
right. I'm like, I don't know, like I'm emotionally not prepared to deal with this again.
With Angelus being back, yeah.
Right, and what it's gonna do to Buffy
and the rest of the season, because we know we have five episodes left, and it's like,
yeah,
how are we going to deal with this in just 5 episodes?
Right.
Because basically it's a whole season to deal with it last time.
Right. Well, half a season, because Angel.
Oh, that's happened at the mid-season.
At the mid-season mark.
That's right.
But still, yeah,
you got like 11 episodes to deal with it last time.
Right. So now you have to deal with Angelus in 5 episodes, Faith and the Mayor in 5 episodes.
A psychotic Slayer.
Right.
A totally like bonkers Mayor who's like impervious to any damage.
Right. That they really don't know that much about.
Yeah, they don't even know about this imperviousness. They don't know they just know it's fucking kooky.
Right.
So, yeah, it's like, damn. For these final 5 episodes, we are packing the fucking field, aren't we?
Yeah. Also, those things that hold up your socks are actually called sock garters.
Oh, dude, isn't that what I said?
It is what you said. Yep.
Dude, and I was totally just pulling that out of my ass. But anyway, cool. Yeah, we're back in the library with the Scoobies, the whole gang, even Cordelia's there, and they're making plans on what to do. So they come up with, and I'm condensing this scene down because there's a lot of dialogue in here, but it's not necessarily super important to the plot moving forward. But what they decide is, a certain group of them, a chunk of them most of them are all going to go to the Hall of Records and see. Buffy's going to supposedly go to the mayor's office, okay, to try to find whatever she can, see if she can even find the books of Ascension. Everybody else, minus Xander, is going to go to the Hall of Records to see what they can find there about the mayor or just anything that they can find that might help them out here.
Right, because by the time Willow managed to hack into his files, he had already cleared them out.
Right, I was gonna say that.
Nope, sorry.
Thanks a lot, James.
Whatever.
You stole my thunder.
Because Wesley does point out at the beginning of this scene that the mayor always seems to be one step ahead of them.
Yeah, that I did miss that. And I'm like, yeah, he kind of does. That's because he's the fucking mayor. Like in your school children. What do you expect? Anyway. So yeah, they're going to go to the Hall of Records, and Xander is like, hey, I'm going to not do that. He's like, which I don't know where this comes from, but all of a sudden Xander's the lone rogue who's going to go. He's like, I'm going to keep my ear to the ground and see what I can find out, go asking around and stuff. I'm like, what? When did that become your thing, Xander? But
It didn't. He didn't want to go and watch Cordy fawn all over Wesley.
I know. I was going to bring that up, but
Oh.
it's just like I don't know. Anyway, so that's what he decides to do, and they're just like, yeah, okay, whatever. We don't need you anyway. You're Xander. Then we cut back to the mayor's office, and Faith is introducing Angelus to the mayor, and they're having a little. Sorry, go ahead.
As much as I love the mayor, and as much as I love Harry Groner, I cannot stand the way he says Angelus.
I wondered if I was the only one because somebody else says it weird. Who is it? Or maybe it's him again later. I don't know. I noticed this either 2 or 3 times in this episode, and I was like, did none of the writers pull them aside and say, yeah, you're saying it stupidly. Like you're saying it. Because how did he say it? I can't even.
Angelus.
Angelus.
Yeah.
Angelus. And I was like, what?
I was like, what? No.
How did they record that and somebody not go, whoa, cut. Harry, it's Angelus. Angelus is stupid. Don't ever say that again or we'll fire you. No, but really.
We'll recast you 5 episodes from the finale.
In the very next episode, and we won't even explain it, okay? That's going to happen. No, but he says it, I think, one more time, and then somebody says, man, I think it's the demon guy. I think it's the demon guy when he's talking to, well, I don't want to give a spoiler. He's talking to someone later on, and I think it's him that says it. But anyway, it's said again in a weird way, and I'm like, what is going on in this episode? What is so hard about saying Angelus? But anyway, so yeah, she's introducing Angelus to the mayor, and I know it's so annoying. To the mayor, and they're kind of Angel and him are kind of having a little
pissing back and forth.
Yeah, a little pissing contest back and forth, and at one point, Angel kind of surreptitiously grabs the mayor's letter opener off his desk, and they're kind of talking.
Did you catch the goof 'em up in that scene?
I didn't.
When he grabs the letter opener on the desk and drags it across the desk, he drags it in front of the mayor's nameplate, and you can see David's hand in the nameplate.
Oh, you see the reflection?
Yep.
Fuck up. So they're still going back and forth, and the mayor says, well, I see you took my letter opener. How do you like it? Do you think it's pretty cool? And Angel's like, well, I was kind of thinking about stabbing you through the heart with it. And the mayor sits back in his chair and opens up his arms, and he's like, please do. And Angel's like, okay. So he fucking wings it at him. And at the very last second, the angel, which I don't understand why he did this, but obviously for budgetary money reasons, but at the very last second, the mayor throws his hand up, and it goes straight through his hand. And then he goes, nice shot. And he pulls it out and shows them his hand, and it heals up. And they're all like, what? And the mayor gets up and he explains, he's like, I'm what you might call impervious. He's like, I cannot be harmed or killed in any way. And Angel's like, oh yeah? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, okay, I guess I'll leave. And he just leaves and the scene's over. No, but so he doesn't really explain how or why he's impervious, obviously, but anyway, he's like, so, Angel's like, so I know you got a problem with Slayer, and he's like, and I'd like to handle that for you, and I'm gonna kill and maim her for you. And the mayor's like, awesome, okay, let's do that. And so off he goes. He and Faith go.
The mayor tells him you can kill Buffy. Just make sure you do it slowly. And
because we don't need another Slayer.
We don't. He's like, we don't need another Slayer showing up. They can't all turn out like my face.
Yeah, like my girl Faith.
And it's like Faith has like the giddiest little smile on her face when he says that.
Like, yeah. Yeah. So then we cut to Xander. He's walking through town in the evening and he's all moping and he's like, fucking Wesley, can you say jailbait? God, he's all butthurt about he's doing his best Napoleon Dynamite. And he looks up and he sees Faith and Angel heading towards him. And he's like, oh, good, guys. And he's like, so listen. And then Angel just fucking reaches out and fucking blasts him and just KOs him instantly. And they keep walking, and Angel's like, oh, that guy just bugs me. And I was like, lol, I love that. It's a 5-second scene, but I loved it. And because he's just KO'd in this pile of like garbage on the side of the road. Then we cut to
like the garbage he is.
Like trash that he fucking is, that piece of filth. Anyway, we cut to a door and it opens, and who is it but Joyce Hooer Summers.
Jocelyn Hooer Summers.
And we're at Buffy's house, and Angel and Faith are there, and she's like, oh, hi guys, and come on in. And they come in and they're like, is Buffy here? And she's like, yep, up in her room. And Faith kind of heads up, but Angel stops and says, did you do something to your hair? And Joyce is like, oh, just some highlights. And he's like, oh, well, it looks really nice. And he leaves and goes on upstairs. And Joyce, I swear, she gets this look on her face because she turns and watches him walk away. And she's just like, I'm going to fuck him.
I was going to say, you could hear the audible sploosh.
Yeah, you could literally hear her moisten as he walked by. And I was like, damn, Joyce. But no, go back and look at that. She had this look on her face.
Oh, yeah.
Like I will devour that boy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, dang.
She 100% did.
Yeah, because I caught that and I was like, whoa, Oish J. So,
get it, mommy?
Get it? They go up into her room and, they're like, hey, and she's like, what's going on? And they're like, well, we're here to murder you, but we're gonna we're gonna make up a story though first. But no, they say, we've got.
And then Buffy's like, that's okay, you can murder me, but first let's fuck.
Yeah, she's like, are you gonna murder me with your dick? And Angel's like, no, I'm gonna murder with the knife. And she's like, fuck. No, so they're like, listen, we've got the book, Ascension, and all that. And she's like, okay, cool. Well, let's go. Let's take them to Giles and Wes there at the library. And they're like, well, they're back at Angel's house. And she's like, what? Okay, why? Like, this was all fishy to me, but she just went along. And then they're like, yeah, so the smartest thing would be for us to all three go get them, and then all three take them to the library. And she's like, okay. And she's like, well, let me get my bag of goodies here, because she's got a big bag of weapons that she was putting together because she was gonna go to the mayor's office, as we recall. So he's like, here, let me get that for you. And she's like, okay, and let me hand you all of my weapons. And he's like, sweet, thanks. And they go off, and we cut to Le Mansion. And what's happening there, James? Well, I'll just continue on.
No, sorry, I lost my place.
Okay.
So we cut to the mansion, and Angel drops the bag of weapons on the table there. And did you see when he dropped it, the air escaping from underneath it blew out the candles around it? Did you notice that?
I noticed that, and I also noticed off to the side there were 3 used condoms
Oh my God.
just there. It was you didn't notice that?
Think about this, Jeremy. Why would he even need to use condoms?
As we find out later, because he doesn't want to vampire impregnate anyone.
Vampires can't impregnate people.
They can. Yes, they can.
No, they can't. This isn't Twilight.
I sparkle, okay, when I'm in the sun. Oh God, don't get me started. I hate. Oh jeez.
Um,
The sun doesn't hurt me. I sparkle.
so and he continues to heading over towards the fireplace, and Buffy's like, okay, where's the books? And Angel's like, well, there's been a change of plans.
And then he's
And-
murder face.
Well, not yet. He calls her Buff.
Yeah.
And she's like, that throws her off. She's like, did you call me? And then she's like, what's the matter with you?
No one would ever call me Buff except Xander.
I was like, I mean,
Everyone else.
admittedly, it is odd for Angel to call her Buff. He only ever calls her Buffy.
Well, I guess it's better than bitch. I'm just saying.
So this is her first tip off that something's not right.
Something's amiss.
And she's like, what's the matter with you? And he's all like, nothing. I haven't felt this good in a long time. And he turns around and he's in vamp face. And he's like, I never really properly thanked you for sending me to hell. And
Yeah. How does one
and
do that with a what do you say, a bouquet, a gift basket?
a gift basket.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I know, evisceration, or
Yeah.
something to that.
Yeah.
And he grabs her.
She was like, "Ooh, what's evisceration?" He's like, "Well, let me show you."
And
then they fuck.
and at this point, Buffy's figured it out, and Jealous is back.
Yep. And she's scared, but she's a little turned on. You can see it in her eyes.
And he grabs her, and he's like, I know what you're thinking. Deep down inside of him, there's part of him that remembers and still loves me, and this and that. And then he's like, and then there's also reality. And man, this is hard. This was hard to watch after like season 2.
No, yeah, it was. I was just fucking with you. No, it was. It was like, because she immediately makes this. She's like, I'll never, like, how does she? Oh, she goes, she because he's got a hold of her by her arms, and she like pulls out of his grip, and she's like, I'll kill you before I let you touch me. And like man, SMG is so good at bringing, I don't know what you call that emotion, or that it's like 9 emotions in one emote.
Yep.
And like it's like
Yep.
fear, disgust,
Sad.
It's like all, man, she can just do it all in one look.
Yep.
And it's like she's just really good at doing that. And that's the look she, and you're like, oh shit, she is going to kill this motherfucker right here, right now.
Yep. And devastated too. That's
devastated. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like 9
all
emotions all in one, and you're just like, oh my god, she's good.
So Buffy tells Faith that they need to get out of there right now, and Faith is like, well, speak for yourself, B. I like it here. And Buffy looks kind of confused. And she turns back around to face Angelus, and he knocks her the fuck out.
One shot, like she's jelly.
And he says to Faith, he's like, one thing I've learned about Buffy is how cute she is when she's sleeping. Kind of calling back to season 2 when he drew that charcoal drawing of her while she was asleep.
Yep.
And then we cut to the Hall of Records, and Oz finds an old picture of the mayor, and they compare it to a newer picture, and they realize that it's the same person, and that the mayor is in fact over 100 years old.
And I was like, what?
And therefore probably not human.
I had no idea. What's that threw me, because I'm like, at no point did I ever not think he was human. Like, I was like, well, he's human, but he's got, the way he explained it to Mr. Trick was that he had just made all these deals with demons over the years in order to prolong his life, or, what have you. Like, I never at any time, I don't know about you, but I don't know, this just threw me, because I never thought at any time that he wasn't human.
It threw me too, and I don't think they're stating this as like absolute fact. Mm-hmm. I think they're just drawing the conclusion that, like, well, if he's over 100 years old, he must not be human. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. I hadn't thought of it that way, but I was like, wait, is the show trying to tell us that he's not a human? Because I never got that impression.
Yeah. No, I didn't take it that way, as like them like flat out being like, well, now we know the mayor's not human. I took it more as like the gang there, just kind of jumps to the conclusion that the mayor must not be human because he's obviously so old.
I'll buy that for $1.
At that point, Xander shows up and tells them that Angelus is back, and he and Faith are together, teamed up, whatever.
And he's all like, I told you so. And it's like,
yeah, I wanted to slap him.
I wanted to punch him in the throat, honestly. Like, not to kill him, but just to really fuck up his breathing for a few minutes.
Right.
And
then we cut back to the mansion, and Angel is finishing chaining Buffy up. And
Faith says, bondage looks good on you, Buff, or B. And I was like, ooh, that's kind of hot. Those two, and sorry, I just, let's go ahead. Let's move on.
You're gonna need to take the rest of the scene. I'm thinking about it now.
Okay, no problem.
Faith.
You could basically
ultimately,
Faith, she's giving a big spiel about how fucked up she is.
Yeah, Faith goes on a rant about how she tries to be the good little slayer and this and that, and
I'm like, did she really though?
Right.
Like, at any time since they first introduced her, did she ever try to be the good girl?
Right, and she says like, what do I get for it? Every time I turn around, I hear, "Why can't you be more like Buffy?" And I'm like, at what point did anyone
ever said that?
Right.
Ever.
And she's all
never attempt to be a good person. I don't recall that either.
And she's all like, but how come no one ever asked, why can't Buffy be more like, or she's like, but no one ever asked, why can't Buffy be more like Faith? And Angelus over in the corner is like, I know I didn't.
Yeah.
And like, did you see the look Faith gave him?
Yeah, she's
like what the fuck, dude? Like, what?
I'm like, it's Angelus. He's always a dick.
Right, like, dude.
That's what's fun about him.
So then Faith lays into Buffy, like, berating her, about, you think you're better than me. Just admit you think you're better than me, don't you? And Buffy straight up is like, yeah,
I am better than you.
I am better than you. And then she's like, Faith points out, she's like, I'm with Angel now, and Buffy's like, how did you do it? Was it some kind of magic? Because we both know that in reality, Angel would never touch you.
Yeah.
And uh, um,
And I'm like, Jeremy would. Jeremy would. Just FYI.
And that kind of sets Faith off. And Faith's like, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to get me to kill you, but I'm smarter than that. And then Buffy tells Faith that she's gonna stop the mayor's ascension. At which point Faith just loses all, like, whatever marbles she has left, and she spills everything
Yeah.
about the mayor's plan.
It's a total Scooby-Doo deal where she just gives away the whole fucking plot.
Right. It's like an old episode of Batman when they've got Batman and Robin in a trap
at the slow moving laser that's going to cut them down the middle. Yeah.
Right. And proceed to tell Batman, or even better yet, a James Bond movie where they've got Bond in an elaborate death trap, and the bad guy proceeds to detail his entire
here's
plan.
The plan, see?
Buffy tells her that she never knew Faith had so much rage in her, and Faith says, world's best actor. At which point Angel says, second best.
What? What's happening? Is it who I think? It is. It's Angel.
I like how we've moved on from playing it every time, like the first time Angel shows up in an episode, to when Angel does something kind of badass in an episode.
Yeah, because I recalled when the first time I watched this episode, I did not see this coming. Like, this was a twist inside of a twist. Yes. And I was like, oh shit, he's not really Angelus, it's still Angel. And because at which point, what does Buffy do? She shows that she's not chained up at all.
That's right. Yep. And we find out that it's been an act all along, and he's not really Angelus. And I remember watching it the first time and being like relieved, for one, and like blindsided because I did not see it coming.
No, neither did I. I was convinced it was Angelus.
Like you said, it was a twist inside a twist. Like the original twist being like, oh fuck, Angelus is back now. Didn't see that coming. And now the twist of, oh shit, it wasn't real. I didn't see that coming either.
Yep. At which point fucking Faith loses her fucking mind. And she's like, you fucking played me. And I'm like, yeah. But I mean, I don't know. Go ahead.
So Buffy and Angel confirm that they know everything Faith knows now. And at that point, the rest of the Scoobies, sans Giles, bust in, crosses and stakes at the ready. And in the meantime, Buffy and Faith have started fighting, and they end up kneeled on the floor with knives at each other's throats. And Faith's all like, what are you going to do, B? Kill me? She's like, I don't think so. Then you become me. And she's like, and you're not ready for that. And she says, yet. And then she gives her the fucking Sicilian kiss of death.
Yep.
She grabs her by the back of the head and kisses her on the forehead and lets her go, and then runs out of the mansion.
I knew it was you, Fredo!
And then we cut to the library, where I'm going to take this brief part and then I'll let you finish it up.
Yeah, go ahead.
We cut back to the library where Giles is thanking the shrouded sorcerer from earlier,
Ninja dude,
for coming to him, letting us know that when the mayor reached out to him, this guy reached out to Giles
because he owed Giles.
because he owed Giles a favor. And
Why did he owe Giles that favor, James?
because Giles introduced him to his wife.
Yep.
But that's what set this whole thing in motion. This dude went to Giles and was like, yo, dude, like, here's what's happening. And then they concocted this elaborate scheme.
Yeah, he's like, thanks for the light here. Convincing light show, too.
So go ahead. You can finish off the rest of the scene.
Well, I mean, that's, Xander pitches a bitch.
Yeah, Xander's upset because he's still bruised, and
yeah, he's
Buffy,
like, but it was a real punt, and Buffy's like, but she says something that it catches, but because she says he was just acting, Xander, and then
it was all just an act,
right, and then she just has this look, and you're like, huh, what's going on there? And we cut to the mayor's office.
Nope, Faith's place.
I'm sorry, it's actually Faith's apartment. I first wrote down the mayor's office, and then I realized it was Faith's apartment, and I misread it. They're at her apartment, and the mayor's just like, he's just like, you win some, you lose some, don't worry about it, chin up. He's just like really uncaring, and he's like, listen, I can fix this with 2 words. And she's like, what? And he's like, miniature golf. And they just both start laughing and giggling. Like, I'm like, you two are so fucking crazy.
Well, hold on. First, she looks at him like he's out of his fucking mind.
Yeah.
But he is so giddy and eager over the idea of miniature golf that it fucking breaks Faith, and she starts laughing too.
Yeah. So then we cut to the mansion. Oh, here we go. And Angel and Buffy are having a heart-to-heart, and she informs him that she needs a break. After he did this whole fucking ruse with her and everything she asked of him, I guess it was just too real. He was too good at it to her. It was, the Angelus thing was just too much, and she's just really upset, and she's going to need a break. And you can read, he doesn't say it, but you can read it on his face where he's just like, what the fuck? I did what you asked me to do. What you wanted me to do, God, I can't fucking win with this girl. And so she turns to leave.
Really? That's what you took away from the look on his face?
It is. Because that's what I was projecting, maybe.
I think you were projecting.
Because that's what I was like, God damn, he can't win with this girl.
Because what I took away from the look on his face was just pure heartbreak.
Well, that was definitely there, but I just felt like again, I was projecting, I guess, but he's just like, wow, I can't win. There's nothing I can do right. There's nothing I can do wrong. But anyway, she turns and leaves, and he says, are you still my girl? And she turns and says, always. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Always, except when you get really weird, emotional for no reason. Anyway, whatever. And that's it. Credits. That's it. That was the episode.
Yep. No monsterology this week.
No.
Our body count was only 1. That's a little disappointing.
It is a little disappointing because it was the one character I got a kick out of, like other than the mayor,
Our music this week was just our original score by series composer Christoph Beck. Jeremy.
Yes, James. Yes.
Why don't you
ask me?
Why don't you give me your final thoughts and your rating of this episode on a scale of 1 to 5? How many hooded sorcerers are you going to give it?
4.5.
4.5. Okay.
This is a solid 4.5. I literally only have one complaint about this entire episode, and if this hadn't happened, this would have been a 5 for me. And it's that last scene. It just irks me, which and I've said this before. How this weird roller coaster of emotions that Buffy keeps herself on with Angel all the time,
right?
And I know it's the writers, and they get off on this for some reason, and I don't know why. But it's just like it just seemed unnecessary to me. Like, to me, the episode should have ended on the positive up note that it began to end on. Like, like, in other words, finally the Scoobs are one up on the mayor.
Right.
And everything's fucking cool. You know what I mean? But they just fucking had to throw that little let's go break Angel's heart again for no real reason. Let's just go do that again because that's fun. It's fun shitting all over Angel all the time.
Right.
And it's just like I gotta knock a half point off for that because to me, I find that lazy in the writing because I've seen it. It's happened too many times in this show with those. It's just it's old shtick at this point, So I knocked a half point off for that. But as I said, other than that, I have no complaints about this episode. It was well written. It was dialogue heavy, but that's okay when it's good dialogue, which almost all of it was. And there were lots of good little one-liners in it. It was one of those good, well fucking thought out episodes. I loved the demon guy. I think it would have been funny to keep him around as like kind of like a punching bag, or maybe later on even became a part of the Scoobs or something. I mean, he was funny. He had a good voice, and of course, the mayor's in this episode so much. I fucking love that because I love him.
Right.
And it moves the plot forward, and it was now the Scoobies everyone's aware that Faith is a fucking problem, because as Giles says, which we kind of skipped over in that second to last scene, Giles says, maybe there's nothing more dangerous than a fucking rogue slayer, in other words.
Right.
And so it's serious shit. And so now here we are. We have to deal. Not only do we have this mayor situation that we're not even sure what that's all about, and now we have a rogue fucking slayer to watch out for, to worry about. So yeah, it definitely sets the fucking stage for these last 5 episodes to be bonkers. So, yep, solid 4.5. James.
Yes, sir.
You tell us your final thoughts on the episode. Mm-hmm. And on a scale of 1 to 5, Joyce Hooer Sumares, how do you rate this?
You gotta, if you're gonna do it, you gotta do it right. You have to use her full French name, which is Jocelyn Hooer Sumares.
Okay, my bad.
Jocelyn Hooer Sumares.
Okay, I apologize.
I'm gonna give it a 4.
Okay.
I honestly can't put my finger on what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a solid episode. I don't have any complaints about it.
Mm-hmm.
Much like yourself, I agree with everything you said. As far as the writing being on point, the one-liners, how it progresses the story into the next 5 episodes, as we're wrapping up the season. The Faith's betrayal is revealed to everybody now. They've got a better handle on what the mayor's plan is. But I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but there's something about the episode that keeps it from being a 5. And I really don't know what it is.
Yeah, it doesn't have that oomph.
Yeah.
It's got everything else.
Yeah, like it on paper, it literally seems like it should be a 5 episode. It really does.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something there's something about it that I can't place that just doesn't elevate it to that level. And you're right. It's that I didn't walk away from the episode with that, for lack of a better term, oomph factor,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, so, and obviously I'm pretty sure you know exactly what I'm talking about because we've pretty much agreed on every 5, episodes so far.
Yep.
So there is
You walk
something.
away from a 5 episode going, damn, that was good.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
you really do. Like there's, like you said, there's an oomph factor to it, and there just wasn't. As good as this episode is, it I just didn't walk away from it with that 5 feeling.
Yeah.
So, if I'm scrolling through channels and Buffy's on and it's this episode, am I going to watch? Yeah, 100% I will.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's not. It lacks a certain je ne sais quoi
Je ne sais quoi.
to be to be a 5 episode.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's and I love, to this day, rewatching it. I love the twist within a twist.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Because, like I said, when it happened, the first time I was watching this ever, however many years ago, I did not see that coming because I had already resigned myself. Like, oh, okay, fuck, Angelus is back. Now we got the mayor. We got fucking Angelus. We got crazy ass Faith. Like, this shit's bonkers, And then when that happened, I was like, what?
Yeah, and like the fact that it is a twist within a twist,
Mm-hmm.
because you never would have, like yourself. I remember watching it years and years ago, first run, and when uh when Angelus came back, you know, blindsided, did not see it coming. I was
Gut
like,
punch.
holy, yeah,
Yeah.
like holy fuck, like now there's this to deal with, like you said, on top of Faith and the mayor. Now Angelus is back, and it was a gut punch. Like, 'cause you're still kind of reeling from that back half of season 2, and getting Angel back,
Yep.
in season 3. Um, so yeah, it was a gut.
Goddamn, he's only been back to him for the short time. Like, holy fuck. Yeah.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was a gut punch. Like, I'm emotionally not prepared to deal with, to go through this again, and
Right.
what it's going to do to Buffy and whatnot. And then to see that scene between Angelus and Faith and Buffy, it was practically devastating because, like we've said before, like SMG and David, they have so much chemistry and they knock everything out of the park.
Yeah.
So, like you pointed out, to see SMG as Buffy going through that cavalcade of emotions all at once, you know, fear, anger, devastation, heartbreak, it's heartbreaking to you to watch her go through that.
Yep.
And then for that second twist of, it's all been a ruse, he's not really Angelus, to blindside you again, there's that elation of, oh my god, thank god Angelus isn't back. You know what I'm saying?
It'd be like getting punched in the balls and then getting a hand job. I mean, am I wrong?
I mean, I would liken it more to being punched in the balls and then getting a blowjob.
Oh, okay. Well, you always do tend to escalate things to the next level. So,
I'm not a big fan of handies. I can do that myself.
ooh, okay, ladies, make note of that. Okay, we are wrong. James, tell our wonderful listening and viewing audience how they can reach us. And do it in 2 minutes. Go.
They can find us. They can find us at buffyrevisited.com. You're going to find a link to our Facebook and our YouTube and our email. Our email is buffyrevisited@gmail.com. You can email us there. We've had a couple people do that recently. We love it. We love it. We love it. Um, the YouTube channel, obviously, going to be the video versions of all the podcasts. Well, not all of them. There's some from season 1 that aren't up there because
Yeah, I don't think we started doing video till
like episode 3 or 4.
Okay.
I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, we decided to add video into the mix, just to give me a little something more to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Because you weren't busy enough, so I was like, we need to think of something we can do that would make it harder on you.
Right. No, I think I was the one that pitched the video, and I thought it would be.
You definitely were, because I was not into the idea at first. I was like, oh, that. But if it's just audio, I can be in my underwear when we do this, you know. And you were like video. I was like, oh, okay, I guess no one wants to see me.
The reason I pitched video, and I'm glad we did, is because, and this is why I always urge people, if you can, go watch the podcast instead of just listening to it, because, and this is why I pitched video in the first place. I think watching it adds another element to the podcast, because you get to see Jeremy and I interacting with each other, our facial expressions, our, various little quirky things we might do. You might get to see me simulate fellatio. You never know.
Yeah, you never know.
I've done it before. You never know.
You might see me covered in peanut butter and nude at some point.
And if you don't watch, you miss classic bits such as
Yeah.
I'll take you to the docks.
Okay, let's go to the docks.
So yeah, hit us up. You can find us on YouTube. Leave us comments there. People have done that. We'll address them there, and we will respond here on the podcast. And probably the most prevalent form of interaction we've had from people of late, our Facebook page. We post all the time on the Facebook page.
Well, you do.
There's always a post regarding the current episode. If I find interesting articles about the show or anything, I try to post them there. Or I don't try, I do post them there, and I ask for your guys' thoughts and opinions on those articles. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you can message us on Facebook through Messenger, leave comments on any of our posts. Again, reach out to us in any of those formats. We will respond. We will take time at the beginning of the next episode after we receive your comment or whatever, and we will respond. It'll be addressed here on the podcast. We will respond. We probably won't email you back. I'm going to be honest.
Oh, yeah, no. I don't even email my own family back, so yeah, it's.
But we will definitely respond to Facebook messages, Facebook comments, and YouTube comments, in those formats and here on the podcast. So please, please, please reach out to us. We have had the last month or so, maybe even a couple of months, we've had an unprecedented amount of interaction with you guys, and we love it. We truly do. We, from the bottom of our dark, jaded hearts, we love it.
Yes.
So please keep it coming.
Absolutely. James, do you have any final thoughts or anything you want to say to wrap up this week?
No.
Okay, well, be quiet over there. Everyone, no, everybody.
You son of a bitch.
I want to say, as always, thank you for joining us this week. We can't wait to do next week's episode, which will be season 3, episode 18, Earshot. And I'm thinking here, I believe this is a good one. I can't really remember.
This was a good one.
And I believe they're all pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Season up here.
And something,
especially the last 2.
And something that I'll address more next week is that even though the next week's episode Earshot was shot and intended to air as episode 18 of season 3, it actually did not originally air as episode 18.
Really?
Yeah.
God, I could never. You couldn't prove that by me, because I would never be able to remember that from that far back.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about that next week.
All righty. Well, then we will see you all then. I've been one of your hosts. I'm Jeremy J.
I'm your other host, James J.
Ta-ta.